Good morning, everyone. So today is our first class for DevOps. Today is the first class for DevOps. So what is this DevOps? Why we are going for this DevOps? So the very first thing that we need to understand, DevOps is the word, is a combination of two words, right? DevOps. DevOps nothing but development plus operations. In our project, development team will be available and operations team also will be available. Development team is responsible to write the code and develop the project. Development team is responsible. Development team is responsible to develop the project. Operations team is responsible to deliver the project. Operations team is responsible to deliver the project. So this is the combination. DevOps is the combination of two words, development plus operations. Development team is responsible to develop the project. They will use some programming language to develop. So project may be developed by using Java, maybe by using .NET, maybe by using Python or Node.js, like that. They will use one of the programming language to develop the project. Whatever the project is done by development team, operations team is responsible to deliver the project. So development team is working, operations team is working. So we need to set up the collaboration between the development team and operations team. DevOps is a process which is used to simplify application delivery process. Developers are doing the code, operations teams are delivering the code to the client. So then how to improve this application delivery process? We are going to improve application delivery process by using DevOps. DevOps is a process, or we can say DevOps is a culture. DevOps is a culture. DevOps is used, DevOps culture is used to simplify, and speed up application delivery process. Developers are developing the code and we need to deliver that code to clients. So in order to deliver that code to the clients, we are going to follow this DevOps culture. So we can also say DevOps is a process. We can also say DevOps is a process. DevOps means set of practices. DevOps means set of practices. So set of practices we are going to follow to simplify application delivery process to the client. We can speed up, we can automate. Using these DevOps practices, we can automate, we can simplify, and we can simplify, speed up, we can simplify, automate, and speed up application delivery process. DevOps is a process, or we can say DevOps is a culture, or we can say DevOps is a set of practices. So to automate application delivery process, we are going to use several tools. Those are called as DevOps tool chain. To automate or to speed up application delivery process, we are going to use set of tools. Those tools are called as DevOps tool chain. Okay, so what is this DevOps tool chain? What are the tools we are going to use in the DevOps? DevOps tool chain will be available. So this learning DevOps, working with DevOps, nothing but working with the tools only. By using those tools, we are going to automate and we are going to simplify application delivery process. What are the tools available? To automate, to simplify, or to automate, to speed up application delivery process, to automate application delivery process, we will use several tools. Those are called as DevOps tools or DevOps tool chain. What are the tools we are going to use in the real time to automate this application delivery process? So first we are going to use Maven, or we will use Maven or Gradle. Maven or Gradle, these are build tools to create the project, to package the project, compile the project, to package the project. Application build process we will do by using Maven or Gradle. Then after we are going to use GitHub or Bitbucket. This GitHub or Bitbucket we are going to use as version control softwares. Project source code will be stored into GitHub or Bitbucket. Project source code will be stored into GitHub or Bitbucket. Perfect. So all the development team will be developing the code for the project. Development team is responsible to develop the project. They will do the coding. Those people are going to do the coding. Operations team is responsible to deliver the project, nothing but releasing, project releasing. So developers, whatever the code they write, they are going to store their code into GitHub repository or Bitbucket repository. Now, once the code is available in the GitHub or Bitbucket, we need to take that code and we need to do build process we need to do for the code. Project code will be stored into GitHub repository. That project we need to compile and we need to build by using Maven. Then next, there is a tool called Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube is the tool which is used to perform code review. Sonar Cube is the tool which is used to perform code review. What is the code done by the developers? Is that code having the quality or not? Are there any issues in the code? Are there any bugs in the code? Are they following proper coding practices or not? Best practices they are following in the code or not? That we are going to review by using Sonar Cube. By using Sonar Cube. And the next one, Nexus repository. Nexus repository. Nexus repository is used to store our project build artifacts. Whatever the project build we create by using Maven, for backup purpose, we are going to store those build artifacts in the Nexus repository. And any shared libraries also we are going to use in the project like jar files, war files. We will store them in the Nexus repository. Maven is a build tool which is used to compile and package our application. GitHub is a source code repository where our team is going to store code of the project. Sonar Cube is used to perform code review of our application. Nexus repository, which is used to store build artifacts into one server for backup purpose. Then after, we are going to use Apache Tomcat. Apache Tomcat is a web server which is used to deploy our Java web applications. When we develop a web application, to run that web application, we need some server. When we run a web application, we need one server to deploy that web application. So to deploy the web applications, we are going to use Apache Tomcat as a web server. We are going to use Apache Tomcat as a web server. Then after, Jenkins will be available. Jenkins server will be available. Jenkins we are going to use for CI/CD. The Jenkins is the most important tool here. It is used to automate our deployment. Whatever the project that we want to deploy to the client, we need to deploy that by using Jenkins, CI/CD. So code will be developed by developers. That code will be available in GitHub repository. We will take the code from the GitHub. We will package by using Maven. We will do the review by using Sonar, and we will store that build into Nexus. Then we will deploy that into Tomcat. Who will do that complete work automation? You can do this deployment manually. So if you want to automate this application deployment process, then we can go for Jenkins. Jenkins is one of the CI/CD software to automate application build and deployment process. We can automate application build and deployment process by using Jenkins. Then after, we are having some tools like Terraform. Terraform infrastructure as code. In order to deploy our applications, we need some infrastructure Like we need some machines, we need a database, we need a load balancer, we need some S3 buckets in the cloud. Okay, instead of you are creating the infrastructure manually in the cloud platform, we can use Terraform to create that infrastructure creation. We can use Terraform to automate infrastructure creation. To to set up my application in the cloud platform, I needed 10 machines virtually, 10 web servers I need, 3 database servers I need, one S3 bucket I need. Okay, so like this, whatever the infrastructure we need from the cloud, instead of we are creating the infrastructure manually, we can create that infrastructure by using Terraform. Terraform is infrastructure as a code. You can write some code in the Terraform script to create the infrastructure in the cloud. Terraform, not only for AWS guys, Terraform we can use for almost all the cloud platforms. Using Terraform, we can create the infrastructure in the AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. It will support for almost all the cloud platforms which are available in the market. Got it. Next one, there is another tool called Ansible. Ansible is for configuration management. Like I want to install some software in my machines. In my virtual machines, I want to install some software. I want to update the software. I want to remove the software. For example, there are 10 web servers available. In the 10 web servers, I will create by using Terraform. In these 10 web servers, I want to install Maven, Git, Java. Okay, so in order to install the softwares manual, in order to install the softwares manually, we need one system administrator. That system administrator will connect to the all the machines and should install Java, Git, Maven and all. Instead of doing that manual configurations, we can automate the configurations of our infrastructure by using Ansible. Ansible is called as configuration management software. Before Ansible, in the industry, people used to work with Chef and Puppet. But currently, Chef and Puppet got outdated. People are going with Ansible. Ansible is called as configuration management software. So Terraform and Ansible both are different, and they will be used for different purposes. Terraform is used to create the infrastructure. Once the infrastructure is created, that infrastructure configuration management we will do by using Ansible. Are you able to understand the difference between Terraform and Ansible? Are you able to understand the difference between Terraform and Ansible? Guys, what is the difference between Terraform and Ansible? Terraform is used to create the infrastructure. Ansible is used to manage the configurations in the infrastructure. Machines will be created by Terraform. In that machines, software's installation, software updation, software's deletion will be done by Ansible. Okay. Next, the most important topic for the DevOps engineers, Docker. Docker is a containerization platform. So we are going to run our applications as containers, and we are having Kubernetes. Kubernetes orchestration platform. Kubernetes is called as orchestration platform. So if you don't keep Docker and Kubernetes in your resume, you will not get a single call also. If you don't keep Dockers and Kubernetes in the resume as a DevOps engineer, you will not get the single interview call also. So the Docker and Kubernetes is the most important skill set for every DevOps engineer. Nowadays, for developers also, Docker and Kubernetes became mandatory skill. For DevOps, it is very important. Tomorrow, when they conduct an interview for you as a DevOps engineer, interview will happen, technical interviews will happen 30 to 40 minutes of time. In that 30 to 40 minutes of time, 15 to 20 minutes, they will ask the questions only on the Dockers and Kubernetes. Our complete project will be executed, will be deployed by using Dockers and Kubernetes only in the real time. That much demand is there. And in our syllabus, these two topics are going to take most of the time. Almost 25 to 30 hours it will take to understand this Dockers and Kubernetes. That much important it is. Without knowing the Dockers and Kubernetes, you cannot crack the interview as a DevOps engineer. It is a mandatory skill. It is a mandatory skill. Docker is used to run our applications easily by using containers concept. Containers concept. So Docker is a containerization platform. Kubernetes, it is an orchestration platform. Docker is an containerization platform. Kubernetes is an orchestration platform. Our application will be executed by using containers. So Docker we are going to use as a container. To manage those containers, we are going to use Kubernetes as an orchestration. Kubernetes is used to manage the Docker containers, like deploying them, so redeploying them, scheduling them, scaling them, all such kind of management work will done by Kubernetes. Application execution will be taken care by Docker. Okay, Docker is containerization platform. Kubernetes is an orchestration platform. Kubernetes is an orchestration platform. So after this, we are going to use some tools like Prometheus. We are going to use Prometheus. Prometheus, it is alerting tool. Alerting tool. When our application is running on the cluster, we need some alerts, how the application is running. So we need some notifications from our application. We need some notifications from our application. So to monitor our application, monitoring and alerting tool is required. We are going to use Prometheus. Prometheus for monitoring and alerting. Monitoring and alerting. Alerting means alerts. Monitoring and alerts. Okay, alerts we are going to get from this Prometheus. Then we have another tool called Grafana. Grafana is visualization tool. That means how our servers are running. We are going to get some dashboards from the Grafana. What is the performance of our server? How many requests are coming? How much load is there on the server? What is the CPU utilization? What is the network speed? All that data that we will get in the visualized format like graphs, charts and all, we can get from a tool called Grafana. Grafana is an visualization tool. Okay, then the next one is EFK or ELK stack. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Logstash and Kibana. In order to check the application logs, application log monitoring we are going to do by using this Kibana, Logstash and Elasticsearch. At the last, we are going to see one tool called Jira. Jira is for project management. So in the company, how we are going to get the task. So as a DevOps engineer, what work you need to do, what would be your daily activities, what would be your day-to-day activities in the project, that we can understand by using Jira. Your lead or your manager or your scrum master will assign the task to you through this Jira only. Jira is a project management tool. Jira is a project management tool. So as a DevOps engineer, you need to work with all these tools. So working with DevOps or learning the DevOps, nothing but learning DevOps tool chain and working with these DevOps tools. If you know how to work with these tools, then you will be called as DevOps engineer. You can automate application build and delivery process. You can automate application build and delivery process. Could you please read what are the tools we need to learn now? Could you please read what are the tools we need to learn as a DevOps engineer? Maven, GitHub, Sonar, Nexus, Tomcat, Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, Prometheus, Grafana, ELK stack, and Jira. All right. So in this DevOps course, we are going to learn all these tools. Almost 15 tools we are going to learn in our DevOps. 15 tools we are going to learn in our DevOps. Okay, guys. Right. What is the DevOps first? DevOps means development plus operations. So for every project in the company, development team will be available, operations team will be available. Development team is responsible to develop the project by doing some coding. Developers are going to write the code. So that code that they develop, they will store into GitHub repository. Okay, developers will do the code. Developers will store the code into GitHub repository. As a DevOps engineer, it is our responsibility to simplify application delivery process, simplify application release process, automate application release process. Whatever the code done by the client, we need to deliver that project, right? For that, we are going to follow DevOps. What is this DevOps? DevOps is a culture which is used to simplify, automate, and speed up application delivery process. People will call DevOps is a culture, DevOps is a process. DevOps means set of best practices that we are going to follow in the company. Using DevOps, we can establish collaboration between development and operations teams. Using DevOps culture, we can set up, we can establish collaboration, between development and operations team. That means what the development team is doing, what operations team is delivering. There should be some collaboration. What development team is doing, what operations team is doing. So they should know what each team is doing. They should know that. So there should be some collaboration between development team and operations team. To establish that collaboration between development team and operations team, we are going to use this DevOps culture. Are you clear with what is the purpose of DevOps? Are you clear with what is DevOps and what is the purpose of DevOps? DevOps is used to automate application delivery process. In simple terminology, DevOps is a process which is used to automate application delivery process. How we are going to automate application delivery process? There are several tools available. To automate application delivery process, we will use several tools. Those are called as DevOps tools. It is also called as DevOps tool chain. Set of tools we are going to use to automate application delivery process using DevOps. What are those tools that we are going to use? Maven is one tool. GitHub, Maven is a build tool which is used to compile. I will explain what is compilation, what is the packaging also. I will explain in the Maven. Maven is one build tool which is used to compile and package our application. Then GitHub. GitHub is a version control software where our project source code will be stored. Developers, once they do the coding, the developers are going to store the source code into GitHub repository. Then Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube is used to perform code review. Whatever the code done by the developers, that code we need to review. For that we will use Sonar Cube. Then Nexus. Nexus is used to store our build artifacts. Nexus is used to store our build artifacts. Tomcat is used to run our application. Tomcat is used to run our application. Jenkins is used to automate application deployment process. Terraform is used to create the infrastructure in the cloud platforms. Instead of creating the infrastructure manually, we will create that infrastructure by using Terraform. Ansible is used to manage configurations. Once infrastructure got created, we are going to install some softwares. We are going to update the softwares in those machines by using Ansible. Ansible we are going to use as configuration management software. Docker is containerization platform. Docker is used to run our applications in any machine easily, right? So once the Docker containers are created, to manage the Docker containers, we are going to use Kubernetes platform orchestration. Orchestration nothing but managing the process. Orchestration nothing but managing the process. So once our application is deployed by using Dockers and Kubernetes, we need to monitor our application. We need to understand any problems occurring in the application. For that, we are going to use a monitoring tool, which is Prometheus. Prometheus we are going to use as monitoring tool. The next one, Grafana. Grafana is used for visualization reports. Visualization. Okay, how our application is running, that graph, that dashboard we can get from Grafana. ELK stack, when the application is running, some logs will be generated. So we need to get the logs from the application and we need to monitor those logs. For the logs monitoring, we will be using Grafana. Grafana is a visualization tool. Grafana is a visualization tool. ELK is for logs monitoring. Jira is used for project management, work assignment, which task you need to work in your project on daily basis. Those work will be assigned to you by using Jira tickets. Project management software, Jira is. Are you guys clear? Are you guys clear with this? Now, here, when we are working on this DevOps, sir, how we are going to automate the work? So let me tell you how we are going to automate in the companies, what kind of things that we are going to do. So first here, GitHub will be available. GitHub will be available. Developers will do the coding and the developers will store that code into GitHub repository. Developers will do the coding and the developers will store the code into GitHub repository. Coding will be done by dev team. So dev team will be available. That dev team is responsible to do the code and store into code. Multiple developers will be available in the project. Those people will take the responsibility to store the code into GitHub repository. This is our dev team. This is our dev team. Once they do the coding, they will push that code into GitHub repository. Now, as a DevOps engineer, it is our responsibility to deploy this code. In order to do the deployment of our application, we are going to take the infrastructure in the cloud platform. Let's assume that we are using AWS cloud. We need some servers to deploy our application. For that, I will use AWS cloud. In the AWS cloud, I'm going to set up one server. That means my Tomcat server, I will set up by using AWS cloud. Okay, so infrastructure is available in the AWS cloud. Code is available in the GitHub. Now we need to deploy the code from this GitHub repository to this server. So it is not a simple and straightforward step. We need to do a lot of automation in order to deploy our application to server. As a DevOps engineer, what is our duty? Developers are doing the coding. The code, whatever they do, they will store into GitHub repository. We need to take the code from the GitHub repository and we need to deploy into server. The server we are creating in the AWS cloud. So in simple terminology, you are responsible to do this line. Take the code from the GitHub and deploy into server. So here it is a simple straight line. Take the code from the GitHub repository and deploy into server. But how to take the code from the GitHub, how to deploy that into server, how to automate this process, that's where tools comes into picture. What are the tools comes into picture? Several tools comes into picture. So here Jenkins will be available. Jenkins is the most important tool for our DevOps engineers. So here Jenkins tool I'm going to use. Jenkins I will be using as CI/CD. Jenkins I'm going to use by using CI/CD. Now this Jenkins tool will talk to GitHub. Jenkins tool will talk to GitHub. Jenkins will take the code from the GitHub. Whatever the work that we need to do manually can be automated by using this Jenkins. So you need to take the code from the GitHub. You need to deploy that code into server. Instead of doing that work manually, we can automate that work by using Jenkins. So Jenkins is one open source software which is used to automate application build process and deployment process. Here, Jenkins will be talking to build tool, that is our Maven. Jenkins will talk to one build tool which is called Maven. What is this Maven? Maven is a build tool for the Java applications. Maven is used to compile our project and package our project. Sir, what is the compilation and packaging? Whatever the code done by the developers, directly we cannot run that code in the server. We need to convert that code into server understandable format. Developer has done the code. They have written the code programs. The programs directly we can't execute in the server. So to execute our programs in the server, we need to convert the programs into server understandable format. For that we are using Maven build process. Maven will convert our project into server understandable format. Okay, then Jenkins will be talking to, once the Maven build is completed, Jenkins will talk to one more server which is called Sonar Cube, I can say. What is the purpose of this Sonar Cube? Sonar Cube is used to perform code review. Whatever the code done by the developers, some freshers will be available, some experienced people will be available. Are they following proper coding standards or not? Are they going to follow proper coding standards or not? Are there any mistakes in the code? Are there any security violations in the project code? Are there any bugs in the code? Is there any duplicate code available in the project? Same code they have written at multiple places. Like that, we are going to check the code quality by using Sonar Cube. Then we are going to use one more tool or one more server which is called as Nexus. We are going to use one more thing that is called as Nexus. Here, Nexus we are going to use as a repository. Whatever the build we created by using Maven, that build we are going to store in the Nexus for backup. Nexus repositories will be available. Nexus repositories will be available for our backup purpose. For our backup purpose. Right. Now, in order to run our application in the AWS cloud, here we are going to take the servers, right? Those servers, instead of we are creating those servers manually, we can use Docker and Kubernetes. So Jenkins will create a Docker image. Jenkins will talk to Docker also. Jenkins is going to talk to Docker also, and it is going to create the Docker images. Docker will be available to package our application so that it can run in any computer easily. So my Jenkins will talk to Docker as well. Docker images we are going to create by using Jenkins. Jenkins is the heart of the DevOps, guys. Jenkins is the heart of the DevOps. Jenkins is going to talk to Docker. Then Jenkins will be talking to Kubernetes. Jenkins will be talking to Kubernetes, which is used to orchestrate our applications. Jenkins is going to talk to Kubernetes, which is going to orchestrate our applications like this. Okay. Now, where we are going to create all these machines, I need Jenkins server. One computer I need to set up the Jenkins. One machine I need to set up Sonar. One machine I need to set up Nexus. One machine for Docker. One machine for Kubernetes. All this infrastructure we are going to do in the AWS cloud. So Jenkins will talk to that AWS cloud server and it is going to deploy this application. So as a DevOps engineer, these are your roles and responsibilities. These are your roles and responsibilities. Code is available in the GitHub. Who is storing the code into GitHub? Developers are doing the coding. Developers are storing the code into GitHub repository. Now, as a DevOps engineer, we need to take that code from the GitHub repository. We need to deploy into server. Our servers are available in the cloud. Let's take an example. We are using AWS cloud. We are taking AWS cloud, right? So deploying the code into AWS cloud is not a single step, guys. So we need to perform lot of operations on the code, then only we will deploy into the cloud. What are the operations that we are going to do? What are the operations? What are the operations that we are going to do? What are the operations that we are going to do? Come on. What are the operations that we are going to do? Build the project, do the code review, store that repository into Nexus, build Docker images, talk to Kubernetes for managing the Docker containers, and deploy the applications in the servers. Deploy the applications in the servers. Are you clear with my point?
Yes, sir.
You understand my point?
Yes.
Yeah, Ashok. Understood.
Very good. So these are the tools that we are going to use. These are the tools that we are going to use to manage our infrastructure. Perfect.
So these 14 tools are mandatory, sir, to DevOps.
So, sorry.
So as you discussed, 14 tools, right? In DevOps.
Yep. So yeah, those tools are required. Yes, sir. Correct.
We cannot skip anyone. So
No,
we need
no, no. We need to learn them.
But where we can use Ansible in as a DevOps immediate?
Sir, Ansible is used to manage the infrastructure.
Okay.
That means once your machines are created, na, those
Yeah.
machines, in that machines, I want to update some softwares and I want to manage, I want to install Java, or I want to install some Git, Tomcat, whatever the softwares that you want to install. Okay. Those things we'll be installing by using this Ansible software.
Okay, sir. Understand. Thank you.
Sir, what is the difference between the Nexus and JFrog?
So both are same, sir. There are two different companies repositories. You can use either Nexus or JFrog.
Okay.
Sir, what is the repository, sir?
Repository means a place where the code will be stored.
Okay.
Ashok, in this entire process, first Maven, then Docker. When Docker will come to picture after
Yes,
this?
sir. I will.
Nexus.
So in order to come to the Docker, first I need to complete GitHub, Maven, Sonar, Nexus. After
Okay.
completion of these 4 tools, then we will go for Docker and Kubernetes.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to discuss in the same order.
Okay. Right. Okay. Sure.
Yep.
The Nexus will act as a backup, sir?
Yes, sir. It is used to store the build artifacts. And if you are from the development background, you can understand the jar files also will be stored into Nexus. So application needs some jar files. So those jar files are called as shared libraries. Those shared libraries will be stored into Nexus repository.
Hi, so good morning. Anup here again.
Yep.
Sir, actually, let's say we are the new joiners of a one company, and the colleagues have given their servers. Okay, we don't know whether this is application server or whether this is web server. So how can you know that? I mean, whether this is an application server or this is a web server. Or
So they will maintain the list, sir, when we are maintaining the infrastructure for a project. So which machines are using for application server, which machines are using for web server, there will be a clear detailed list will be maintained. So these IP addresses are belongs to web servers. These IP addresses are belongs to DB servers. That will be there.
we can't get to know. I mean, after login on the server.
No.
Oh, okay.
At the time of creating that servers only, they will mention that this server is used for a DB, this server is used for application, this is a Sonar, this is a Jenkins, this is Docker, this is Kubernetes. They will clearly maintain that.
Okay, then how will differentiate between Apache and Tomcat then?
Sir, Tomcat is a server, Apache is a company.
Oh, but they are saying this is Apache server, this is Tomcat server.
No, Apache is the organization. Some people will call it as Apache server. Some people will call it as Tomcat server. Some people will call it as Apache Tomcat. Actual, the server is a Tomcat. This is a Tomcat server developed by Apache company. And in the Apache, there are two types of servers available. One Apache server is used to run just static websites. Generally, people will call that as Apache server. Apache Tomcat, it is used to run the dynamic web applications. It is a web server.
Actually, one interviewer asked what the difference between Apache server and Tomcat server.
Yeah, you can say that. So Apache server is used to run the static websites. In the EC2, we deployed HTTPD, right? That we can call as a static server. This Tomcat is a web server which is used to run the dynamic web applications.
Oh, okay, okay. Thanks.
Right. Got my point? Yeah, fine guys. So today we just had a discussion. What is DevOps? DevOps means development plus operations. DevOps is used to automate application delivery process. As you see in the diagram, we are going to automate our application deployment process by using all these DevOps tools: GitHub, Maven, Sonar, Nexus, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Terraform. We are going to use, and Prometheus for monitoring, Grafana for a dashboard, ELK stack for logs monitoring, Jira for project management. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to start working with this Maven. So from tomorrow, regular classes, no more demos, guys. So today is the first session. It is the introduction session. So from tomorrow, we are going to start with the Maven. So Maven is the first tool that I'm going to explain. Tomorrow, same timing, 8:15 a.m. class will be there. With the same Zoom link, you can join for this class. From tomorrow, DevOps tools are going to start. Is this clear? Fine. Thank you, guys. We'll meet again in the tomorrow session. So tomorrow we'll start with Maven. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Ashok.